25 million people live under North Korea's surveillance state. But what about the watchers themselves? Tonight, you'll hear from someone who spent 7 years interrogating innocent people for the regime's secret police, until the system turned on her. This is a confession from inside the world's most feared intelligence agency, from someone who went from destroyer to defector. YouTube CTA. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these untold stories to light. Together, we can be a voice for those who cannot speak. I work now at a human rights organization in Seoul. We document North Korea's human rights abuses and help people who escaped the North. The irony is, I used to be the one trampling those rights. Until a few years ago, I was an officer in North Korea's Ministry of State Security. We called it the Bowibu. It's the organization ordinary North Koreans fear the most. My job was to investigate people whose loyalty was in question and root out so-called anti-party, counter-revolutionary elements. In interrogation rooms and offices, I destroyed countless lives. Comrade, we received a report that you hold anti-party ideas. It would be better if you confess. I can still hear my own cold, sharp voice saying those words. Most of the people I questioned were innocent. They were there because someone lied, or misunderstood, or wanted to get rid of them. But I never doubted the system. I believed I was working for the party and the supreme leader. This is how we protect our country. I repeated that to myself until I believed it. So why did someone like me run? It started with one sentence, from a woman, sitting across from me in an interrogation room. Someday, comrade, you'll sit where I am now. This system doesn't spare anyone. I didn't know then that her words were prophetic. A year later, I watched a colleague be purged. He had been one of the most loyal officers I knew. And overnight, he became a traitor. And after him, it was my turn. If you want to know what really happens inside North Korea's secret police, please subscribe and like this video. A former watcher is about to expose the truth behind a surveillance state. From here on, I'll tell you how one state security officer went from being a loyal tool of the regime to a defector, and what I saw along the way. This is a perpetrator's confession, not an excuse and exposure. How North Korea's surveillance machine works, how it crushes people one by one, and how even the watchers are never safe inside that system of fear. My story begins in Pyongyang, in the home of a senior state security officer. My father was a colonel in the Ministry of State Security. My grandfather was a war hero. We were what the regime calls a core family, even among the core class. Our family exists to protect the party and the leader with our lives. That's what I heard growing up. When I turned 20, I entered Kim Il-sung University in the law department. But that wasn't my real goal. After graduation, you will join the Bowibu. It's our family tradition. That was my father's expectation. I wanted it too. I believed state security officers held the most honor and power. In my 4th year, the Bowibu held a special recruitment. The standards are strict: background, ideology, loyalty, and cold judgment. That's what the instructor told us. 100 students applied, only 10 were selected. I was one of them. Congratulations. You will become a shield of the state. The day I got the notice, my father couldn't hide his pride. Training at the State Security Academy lasted a year. It was brutal. We woke at 5 in the morning. 16 hours a day of lessons and drills. Law, interrogation techniques, ideology, psychological warfare. You must become the eyes that detect enemies among the people. Get rid of your feelings. The instructors repeated that over and over. The hardest course was practical interrogation. We practiced interrogations on real detainees. At first, my hands shook. Why did you listen to South Korean radio? I didn't listen. Don't lie. Your neighbor reported you. I had to raise my voice. If I looked soft, that would be treated as weakness. Well done. But you need to apply more pressure. Don't show emotion. That was the instructor's feedback. I got used to it. Or maybe numb is the better word. At 24, I became a full officer. I wore a second lieutenant's insignia. My first assignment was in Pyongyang's surveillance division. Your job is to monitor the ideological trends among Pyongyang residents. The section chief gave the order. We worked closely with neighborhood Inminban leaders. The block-level monitors who reported on every household. On the third floor, Comrade Kim's family looks gloomy these days. They say Comrade Pak on the fifth floor bought goods at a foreign currency shop. Where did he get the money? Tiny details. But we wrote them all down. We were taught that small things can be signals of bigger crimes. In my second year, I joined my first arrest. Comrade Kim Chol-soo, you are under arrest for anti-party, counter-revolutionary activities. We stormed his house at 4 in the morning. His family screamed and begged. I kept my face hard. This is just my duty. That's what I whispered to myself. At 25, I was promoted to first lieutenant. I started leading interrogations myself. Confess, and your sentence may be reduced. My voice was cold. Most people eventually confessed. They admitted to things they had never done. You're doing well. You're our pride. My superiors praised me. I felt proud. I'm doing important work. I'm protecting the state. I believed that. At 27, I became a major. For a woman, that was a fast promotion. From now on, you'll handle more important cases. Those words filled me with pride. Back then, I didn't understand. I didn't know what important cases really meant. And I didn't see how many innocent people I was destroying. Soon, I would have to face that truth. The change began when I turned 28. I was assigned to investigate a family. Someone had reported that they watched South Korean broadcasts. Comrade, the neighbor says strange sounds came from your home. In the interrogation room, I faced the father. He was in his mid-50s. He looked like any ordinary worker. I didn't listen. It was just the radio. Stop lying. We have evidence you changed the frequency. I slammed my hand on the table, but he kept denying it. The interrogation dragged on for 3 days. We kept him awake. We barely fed him. Confess. Do it for your family's sake. It was a threat. We knew it worked. In the end, he broke. I'm sorry I was curious just once. He cried as he spoke. Something felt off. A feeling I had never had before. Is this man really dangerous? That thought wouldn't leave me. A few days later, I got another case. A school teacher was reported for telling her students, "Even the leader is human and can make mistakes." Comrade, did you say that? That wasn't my intention. A student asked a question, and She trembled as she spoke. She looked about 30. Intent doesn't matter. The fact that you said it is the problem. I followed the manual, but something inside me felt wrong. Is she really a traitor? Our investigation showed she was an exemplary teacher. She loved her students. She worked hard. She had only answered a child's question honestly. I recommend 3 years in a re-education camp. My hands shook as I wrote the opinion. That night I couldn't sleep. What am I doing? For the first time, I questioned my work. The next week, a bigger case landed on my desk. A party official was accused of hiding money overseas. I joined the investigation team. This comrade has hidden slush funds in China. When I saw the evidence, I was stunned. The amount was huge. But what shocked me more came next. We've been ordered to handle this quietly. My superior lowered his voice. Why? This is an obvious crime. Orders from above. He has connections to the top leadership. In that moment, everything crumbled. We're not here to catch criminals. We're tools, moved around by power. Around the same time, I interrogated a young woman. She had been caught in China and forcibly sent back. She had tried to escape North Korea. Why did you betray your country? I was hungry. My family was going to starve. She cried. Her face was gaunt. Her clothes were worn out. Even so, you tried to abandon your homeland. That's treason. I recited the manual, but my voice had lost its strength. Comrade, you're human too, aren't you? If your family was starving, could you just sit and watch? Her words cut straight into my chest. She was right. I was human, and so was she. It was obvious, but I had ignored that simple truth. That night I sat down to write the report. I was supposed to label her actions heinous treason. My hand wouldn't move. In the end, I wrote, a temporary lapse in judgment caused by economic hardship. My superior sent the report back. This is too lenient. Rewrite it. I wrote it again. but my heart grew heavier. From then on, the faces of the people I had interrogated came back at night. I heard their families screaming in my head. Am I really doing the right thing? That question grew louder. I couldn't push it down anymore. In the fall of my 28th year, everything changed. One of my colleagues, Major Choi, suddenly disappeared. She worked in the same section. Where is Comrade Choi? She's gone for special training. That's what the boss said. But we all knew what special training meant. She was my senior. She had served 10 years in the Bowibu, one of the most loyal, capable officers. A week later, our whole section was called to a meeting. Comrade Choi Young-hae has been exposed as an anti-party, counter-revolutionary element. She is accused of colluding with foreign forces. The section chief announced it without blinking. I couldn't believe it. That she was a traitor? That's impossible. She would never. One colleague spoke up. Silence. Are you questioning the party's decision? He shut his mouth. After the meeting, I quietly asked around. The truth was different. She had uncovered corruption by a high-ranking official. That official was connected to someone even higher. They told her to stay quiet and she'd be fine. She filed a report instead. That's what I heard from someone close to her. She tried to do the right thing, and they erased her. The realization hit hard. A few days later, we heard something even worse. Her entire family was exiled to a remote region. Even her 16-year-old daughter. It's collective punishment. Nothing we can do. My colleague said it like it was normal. That night, I stared at her empty desk. Just a week earlier, she'd been laughing there. Tomorrow, that could be me. A cold fear gripped me. After that, the mood in the office changed. We began to suspect one another. No one knew who might report them. Comrade Kim, your expression during the meeting looked strange. Comrade Pak, your reports have been weak lately. Tiny things became reasons for suspicion. I became careful, too careful. My facial expressions, my wording, everything. One day, a colleague pulled me aside. Doesn't the Choi case bother you? What do you mean? Do you really think she was a traitor? It was a dangerous question. I glanced around. Don't say things like that. Still, are we really doing the right thing? In his eyes, I saw the same doubt I carried. Don't think about it. Our job is to follow orders. That's what I told him. But I didn't believe my own words. 2 weeks later, he disappeared too. They say he resigned voluntarily. That was the rumor. No one knew for sure. After that, I shut down completely. No more questions. No more opinions. But the crack inside my mind was widening. One day, I interrogated a young man. Comrade, did foreign forces put you up to this? No. Just what? I just wanted to live free. I froze. Live free. Had I ever wanted that? I realized I had never once dreamed of freedom. From birth, control had been normal. Freedom is a bourgeois fantasy. I repeated the textbook answer, but it sounded hollow. That night, I walked home through the streets of Pyongyang. I studied people's faces. Every expression was stiff. No one smiled. Are we truly happy? Or just pretending to be? For the first time, I dared to think that. At home, I looked in the mirror. I saw myself in a state security uniform. My eyes looked cold. Who am I? My sense of self began to fall apart. I didn't know then that a test was coming. A test I might not survive. It happened on an ordinary Monday morning. I had just sat down at my desk when the section chief called me. Major Kim, step into my office. His tone was different. Colder. Inside, 2 unfamiliar men were waiting. They were from another branch. Sit down, Comrade Kim. What is this about? We received reports about your recent work. My heart dropped. What reports? You've been too lenient with suspects. And after the Choi case, your ideology seems unstable. Someone had been watching me. That's not true. I've been loyal. We're here to verify that. You will remain at home until further notice. The moment he said it, I understood. It was starting. On the way home, the walk felt endless. I'm being investigated. Me. I had interrogated dozens of people. Now I was the suspect. As soon as I got home, I called my father. Father, I'm under investigation. There was a long silence on the line. I understand. Be careful. Don't say anything unnecessary. Even he sounded afraid. And he was a colonel in state security. That night, the surveillance began. A car idled in front of my building. My phone line made strange noises. So this is what I did to others. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 days later, a formal summons arrived. Major Kim Soo-jin is to report to the interrogation office at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Holding that paper, I remembered every person I had summoned. So this is the fear they felt. The next morning, I walked into the same building where I used to interrogate others. This time, I was on the other side of the table. Sit. The investigator was my junior. I had trained him the year before. Comrade Kim, we've reviewed your reports. You made unusually mild judgments in several cases. I followed the rules. The rules? Look here. You described a defector as having a temporary lapse in judgment due to economic hardship. That's treason, isn't it? He slid my own report toward me. I was just recording the facts. The facts? You took the criminal's side against the party's position. The interrogation lasted 5 hours. He repeated questions, looked for contradictions, applied pressure, exactly as I had done to others. Tell the truth, comrade. Have you ever thought about defecting? My body tensed. Never. Then why were you sympathetic to defectors? That wasn't sympathy. Then what? Do you also have complaints about the system? The noose was tightening. When it finally ended and I walked home, I felt drained. That night, I saw the faces of my past suspects. They had been just as exhausted, just as helpless. What have I done to people? Guilt and fear mixed together. A few days later, someone close to me made a secret call. Be careful, Comrade Kim. The higher-ups are watching you. One mistake in the next interrogation, and you're finished. What should I do? I don't know. But you could end up like Major Choi. The call cut off. That night, I made a decision. I opened a drawer and took out my passport and travel orders for a border area assignment in China. Thankfully, they hadn't confiscated them yet. I was scheduled to inspect units near the Chinese border the following week. That will be my last chance. That night, I decided to run. I had lived my whole life as a hunter. Now I had to become the prey. The irony was sharp, but I had no choice. If I wanted to live, I had to escape. And if I wanted any hope of atonement for what I'd done, I had to get out. In November 2019, I was sent on assignment to Hyesan in Yangon province. Officially, I was there to check the ideology of border guards. Normally, I would have stayed about a week. This time, I had no intention of going back. Major Kim, please complete the political report on the border guards by the end of the week. The local officer in charge gave his request. I nodded. I unpacked my bag at the guest house and looked out the window. In the distance, I saw the Yalu River. Beyond it lay China. If I can just cross that. But it wouldn't be easy. A state security officer trying to defect is considered the worst kind of traitor. If they catch me, they'll execute me on the spot. I knew that too well. I had handled cases like that myself. For 2 days, I inspected the border guards. I checked the alarm systems and watch posts. I interviewed the soldiers. Ironically, it was the perfect position for planning an escape. This sector is weak. We're short on manpower. One company commander admitted it openly. That spot, that's where I have to go. I marked it clearly in my mind. On the third night, I began to prepare. I took off my state security uniform. I put on plain civilian clothes. I shoved my ID and passport deep into my bag. I had about 500 yen, emergency cash I had saved over time. At 2 in the morning, I slipped out of the guest house. Most of the guards were half asleep. It was bitterly cold. Staying alert through the night was hard for them. I walked quietly toward the river. My heart pounded like a drum. If they spot me, it's over. I cannot get caught. After about an hour, I reached the sector I'd picked out. There was barbed wire, but part of it was loose. Smugglers use that spot often. I already knew that. As I crawled through, my clothes tore. My hand caught and bled. I couldn't stop. I made it to the riverbank. In November, the water was like ice. There's no going back now. When my feet hit the water, it felt like my whole body froze. The water climbed up to my waist. My lungs seized, but I pushed forward. Then it happened. Who's there? A shout behind me. One of the guards had seen me. Stop, or I'll shoot! I didn't stop. I threw myself forward, paddling hard. Bang! Bang! Gunshots cracked the air. Bullets slapped the water nearby. Please, please. I swam with everything I had. My chest felt like it would explode. At last, my feet hit the stones on the Chinese side. I pulled myself out of the water. My strength vanished. Behind me, searchlights cut across the river. But the guards couldn't cross the border. "You traitor! Remember this! We'll get you someday!" Their shouts echoed in the dark. I forced my shaking legs to move. I walked into the darkness. I had to find the broker I had contacted in advance. After about an hour, I reached the rendezvous point. "You're the state security officer?" A man stepped out of the shadows. He was an ethnic Korean from China, a broker. "Yes, I want to go to South Korea. Bowibu people are dangerous. It will cost more. I'll pay whatever I can, even later." He studied me for a moment, then gave a small nod. "First we take you to a safe house. They'll be searching like crazy." We got into a car. Through the window, the Yalu River receded into the distance. It's really over. My past life is gone. I had left everything behind. My position, my privileges, my family, my country. But I felt something else too. For the first time, I was free. I was still a fugitive, but I no longer had to torment people. I no longer had to offer false loyalty. The car sped through the night. I didn't look back. I kept my eyes on the road ahead, toward South Korea, toward some form of atonement. I had no idea how hard that road would be. But for the first time, the path in front of me was my choice, not an order from above my own decision. 1 month after my escape, I arrived in South Korea. From China, I had gone through Southeast Asia. At last, I stepped into Incheon Airport. "Welcome to the Republic of Korea." A National Intelligence Service officer greeted me. But I didn't feel I deserved a welcome. I had too much blood on my hands. The investigation was long and thorough. A former state security major. "This is unusual." The investigators studied my file. "Tell us in detail about the cases you handled." There was no torture, no beatings. But this questioning hurt more, because I had to recount every person I'd broken, every life I'd ruined. This man was innocent, but I forced a confession out of him. Tears blurred my vision as I spoke. "You were also a victim of that system." One investigator tried to offer comfort. I couldn't accept it. No, I was the perpetrator. After that, I spent 3 months in Hanwon, South Korea's resettlement center for North Korean defectors. For me, it was hell. I lived with other escapees. Some had been hurt by the Bowibu. I lost my father because of state security. One woman shared her story. I couldn't say a word. I was terrified I had been involved in her case. Every night I woke from nightmares. The people I had interrogated appeared. They screamed. They cursed me. They demanded their lives back. "Because of you, my life was destroyed. Give me my family back." I woke up soaked in sweat. I started seeing a therapist. "You have PTSD," she said, and a heavy sense of guilt. "I don't deserve forgiveness. You left that system. Now you can live differently." Her words made sense, but my heart lagged far behind. After leaving Hanwon, I settled in a tiny studio in Seoul. When I was alone, my thoughts grew heavy. I avoided people at the supermarket. If they knew who I was, how would they look at me? The guilt pressed down like a weight on my chest. One day, I went to a gathering of North Korean defectors. There, I met a man who had survived a political prison camp. I was sent there after a state security investigation. It was hell. His words froze me. Was I on his case? I had no courage to ask. A few months later, I began working at a group that supports defectors. "Your experience will be useful," the director said. But every time I met another defector, I felt uneasy. Was I the one who hurt this person? A year passed. Then I was asked to testify in public. "We need your testimony about the Bowibu's inner workings. It's important." I refused at first. I was terrified of exposing my past. But a fellow defector changed my mind. "If you don't speak, who will? Silence is complicity." In the end, I agreed. My first testimony was at a small seminar. My heart raced. I was an officer in North Korea's State Security Department. The room stirred. I interrogated many innocent people. I used methods close to torture. I forced false confessions. My voice shook. I was a perpetrator. I admit that. But now, I want to tell the truth. Tears rolled down my face. After the talk, someone approached me. That took courage. Thank you for speaking out. I cried even harder. Thank you? I don't deserve thanks. But slowly I began to understand. There was only one thing I could do now. Tell the truth. It would never erase my crimes. But it was the bare minimum for atonement. I still woke from nightmares. But now, sometimes, I had different dreams. Dreams where I testified, where I told the truth, and dreams where, someday, I found the people I hurt and asked for forgiveness. Will that day ever come? I don't know. But at least I no longer live behind lies. I live as someone who accepts responsibility and speaks out about what I did. That's all I can offer. This morning, I stood at a human rights forum in South Korea's National Assembly. I was there to testify about North Korea's state security surveillance system. Even now, I shake when I face a microphone, but I no longer stay silent. I served 7 years in North Korea's Ministry of State Security. Today, I will describe how that system works. It has been 3 years since I escaped. Now I work as a researcher at a North Korean human rights group. I analyze the Bowibu's surveillance methods and document human rights abuses. Your testimony is detailed and highly credible. A UN human rights investigator told me that. The materials I provided were cited in reports on surveillance, interrogation, and purges, things I had seen and done myself. These statements could save many lives. I know better. No testimony can erase what I did. Last year, I met a survivor of a political prison camp. I don't know which officer sent me there, he said. My heart lurched. It might have been me, I answered. You? I was with the Bowibu. Were you arrested between 2015 and 2018? Oh no. It was 2010. I felt relief and guilt. Someone else did it. But I did the same thing to others. These days, I teach North Korean teenagers who grew up in the South. Teacher, what did you do in North Korea? One student asked. I hesitated, then chose honesty. I did bad things, I said. What kind of things? I hurt people. That was my job. Back then, I thought it was right. They listened quietly. I regret it now. That's why I try to tell the truth. One student raised a hand. I think you're brave, teacher. You're admitting your mistakes. My eyes filled with tears. Every Thursday, I still go to therapy. Do you still have nightmares? Yes, but not as often. That means you're healing. Will I ever be fully healed? I'm not sure. But at least I no longer hide my past. Yesterday, I spoke with a journalist. Isn't it dangerous now that people know you were in state security? It is. North Korea probably hates me more than anyone. Then why keep testifying? Because staying silent is even more dangerous. Betraying my conscience would be worse than risking my life. My words were printed in the article. Some of the comments were harsh. A perpetrator playing victim now? A coward who abandoned her family and ran. They hurt, but there was truth in them. I was a perpetrator. Nothing can change that. But I'm trying to become someone different. Recently, I started writing a book. The title is Confessions of State Security. I'm putting down what I saw, what I did, and what I felt. I try not to make excuses. I write things as they were. Last night I cried as I wrote a chapter. It was about one particular woman I interrogated. I want to ask her forgiveness, I wrote, but I don't know where she is. I don't even know if she's alive. My editor asked me, if you could meet her, what would you say? I'd say, I'm sorry, and I'd tell her, I'm finally telling the truth. Every morning I stand in front of the mirror and ask myself, will you tell the truth again today? Then I answer, yes, that is my form of atonement. It's not perfect. It's not enough. But it's all I can do. I have one request for you watching this. Please learn about North Korea's surveillance system. And remember this, inside that system, anyone can become a perpetrator. Anyone can become a victim. I was both. I was a perpetrator, and also a product of that machine. But now I've made my choice. I choose not to be a silent accomplice. I choose to be a witness. For me, that is the only path back to being human. Thank you.